Well, hello, this is Jeff Gaudiosi, and you're on misplacedstraws.com, where music comes to life. My guest today is best known as the iconic voice and keyboardist of Vanilla Fudge, but he's about to release his first ever solo record called There's a Light on November 26th. Please welcome Mark Stein. Welcome, Mark.
Yeah, thank you for having me. A very pleasant good day to everybody. Hope everybody's staying safe.
Yeah, we're trying. Yeah,
I know.
First off, Ed, I actually had to double check. After all these decades, I could not believe this was your first solo record. I mean, you've been involved with so much music over the years. Why did it never feel like a good time to do a solo record?
Well, what happened was back in 2020, about 6 weeks after the pandemic, I wrote a song called We Are One. This inspiration just came to me because we were all in a state of disbelief that is this really happening? It was like a science fiction movie, watching the world go under the way it did. Italy, across the pond to New York, all over the country. So many people being afflicted and dying. It was just so tough to digest and believe, you know. And I was afraid to, shake hands with my neighbor or hug children or just, you were just so paranoid, right? So I sat down at my piano and this idea came to me. Here we are, we're battening down the hatches, afraid to shake our neighbor's hand or hug our children. So what's the plan to survive, And this line came into me saying, we had so many chances to spread some love and human kindness all of our lives. And to me, it was just some kind of a karmic event that was happening because we survived all the world wars and all the hurricanes and the political unrest and the racial unrest and the economic disasters and just all the things that have been happening to us all over the years, domestically and globally. And I just thought it was a karmic thing. And these lyrics came out, but I felt like once this is over, there's going to be a lot more hope for the future. And that's what We Are One talks about. We are one under God, under the sun. And when this battle's over and done, we'll be one again, So check out the single. I'm really proud of it, the production. And I tried to model it after an early Elton John kind of a song. I'm known as a Hammond B3 player, but I've had my bouts with songwriting, just on piano and writing, just writing as a songwriter. So this one, excuse me. So this one is, this one is like an Elton John. I put the strings on like an old Paul Buckmaster, string arrangement with the keyboard, and it came out so cool. And people are loving the song and the production. Yeah. So I don't know if you had a chance to check it out, but
I have. I've listened to the whole record. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah, the production's fantastic. That's one thing that really stands out. I mean, it's crystal clear. Your voice sounds amazing.
Thank you.
It's definitely a really well-produced record.
Well, thank you so much. And kudos to my co-producer, Steven Diacutis in New Jersey at the Sound Spot, because he put a lot lot of time into it with me.
Who else plays with you on this record? Who are
You're not going to believe this. It started out when the pandemic hit and I wrote this song. There was no studios really available. So I called a friend of mine, Alan Hewitt from the Moody Blues, the keyboard player, and he plays with John Lodge. So he invited me over to his house. He's got a great keyboard home studio, and we laid down just a piano track and a click track. But then suddenly he got super busy with other projects, so I had to find another outlet. So I just happened to run across a studio in town where I live in Southern Florida, and a place called Blue Porch Media. So became friends with a cat named Joey Z, and he invited me over. And so the files were sent over there, and what I did was I laid down all the lead vocals, and all the backing vocals is just myself, multi-tracked. And then I laid down the core synthesizer strings, and I had a beautiful sampled sound. So we were really excited about it, but now I needed a band on it. I needed drums and bass and guitar, and to fill out the production. So I called Stevie D at the Sound Spa, and when he had time, he really loved it. So what he did was he put a drum program on there,
Mhm.
He played guitar and he played bass. So it's just two people on that whole production.
Wow.
So it is so cool. You know, there's no attitude from a drummer. There's no attitude from a bass player. I love it. I found a great collaboration. And my next album, I think I'm going to do my whole next record with just the two of us. You know,
Yeah.
but seriously, it
Yeah.
really came out really cool.
It did. And you talked a little bit earlier, about lyrically where you were going with this record. And the whole record, there's definitely a theme to it, just of everything that we've seen in the world over the past year or so. And there we go. There's the
I have an
cover.
advanced copy of There's a Light. Yeah.
Now, did it start off with, kind of the one song, and then that got you looking at just everything else going on and writing about it, or
Well-
just kind of have all the ideas at once?
No. What happened was when I wrote the song, I tried to put it out to try and find somebody that would want to put it out as a single.
Mhm.
So nobody was interested in a single. They wanted a full album, you know? And I said, well, what about an EP, you know?
Mhm.
Because I had some other tracks. So then I was talking with Bruce Pilato, who's, my co-manager. He said, we got to put a whole album together. And then you must have, so I had these tracks in the can. I had songs like Ball of Confusion that I produced for a movie a number of years ago. And songs like We Are Survivors. And I did a cover of Felix Cavalari's People Gotta Be Free for the movie. The movie was Rockin' the Wall, music's influence on the fall of the Berlin Wall and communism. But oddly enough, like all these songs tied together with a message.
Yeah.
And they all have a message. And a few years ago, I wrote a song called Racism, which is my take on the, on the obvious reality that it does exist out there. And I think I wrote this really cool song called Racism, and it's like a progressive rock arrangement. And I wrote a song called All Lives Matter. I write social songs, basically, and I had a collection of songs in the can. So we put them all together and say, hey, we have this album. And I have a song called Let's Pray for Peace that I wrote, that I also play live, that people love around the world. I always get a great response to it. And I dedicate it to so many events that have happened, over the years. And I finished the album with another cover of America the Beautiful, which I actually wrote around 9/11, which I wrote the arrangement for. And I dedicated this song to all the search and rescue dogs that were, trying to find human life at the 9/11 site. And they were dying, and, they were so exhausted getting oxygen on the sidelines. And I put this together with a bunch of great musicians, went to the studio, beautiful. I put it on my website, and I collected all these donations, and they all went to the agency that serviced the search and rescue dogs for that
Oh,
event.
nice.
So that was really cool, And I even got a really nice donation from the late, great Hall of Fame pitcher, Whitey Ford,
Yeah.
who I was friends with at the time. And so it all made sense. There's a light. And one of the lyrics in We Are One is, there's a light that burns so deep within us. If only we could find a way to keep it turned on. If we could there's positive spirituality, I believe, in everyone. So if we could just think positive and move forward as one, I think we could have a better world. And that's my theme on this album. And it covers there's a lot of controversy on it. There's a lot of love on it. And there's a lot of hope on it. There's a lot of history on it. So I hope everybody checks out There's a Light. And it'll be out November 26th.
And as you're talking about it, you mentioned, people tend to get offended by pretty much anything these days. And some of the lyrics, I suppose somebody could see as being controversial if they want to. Were you ever worried about somebody kind of misinterpreting what you're saying? Or was it just, this is what I'm seeing these days?
Well, the only one that I had a little slack of was a few years ago when I wrote Racism. And all these producers say, look, I don't know, blah, 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 you're going to be called a racist. I said, wait a minute. I saw two toddlers on the news. This is what inspired the song. Walking to school, hugging each other, giving each other a kiss, a black kid and a white kid on their way to school. They must have been 5, 6 years old. And I was inspired to write this song. I said, look how these kids are filled with love. There's not a smidgen of any of that, racism going on, is there? It's just love. They're just innocent. So I came up with this lyric: ever see a black child walking with a white child on their way to school? smiling at each other like a sister and a brother, laughing at the grown-up fools because they're way too young. The life has just begun to follow the golden rule of hating one another because their skin's a different color. Growing up in a world so cruel, and you know, it goes on, tells the whole story. I talk about Martin Luther King. But it's a positive slant on racism, you know. And people said it doesn't matter, you know. You're gonna. I said, but this song has been heard by a lot of people, and they think it's great. And it's obviously just my take on the fact that it exists. You know, racism. You know, why did it ever start? Pulling the world apart. It poisons the human heart. So I'm trying to, you know, just make a statement here.
Yeah. And, you know, we mentioned There's a Light. It's your first ever solo record after all the years you've been in the business. It's also been a little while since there's been a Vanilla Fudge record. The last one was 2015. Now that you've gotten this one, is there any talk or any thinking of you guys coming back with a new Vanilla Fudge record as well?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because at the moment there's a new track out. We did a reimagined version of Stop in the Name of Love. You know, it's out on Golden Robot Records out of Australia. We were asked to do, you know, a Motown song because we had the big Keep Me Hanging On hit that was an iconic, you know, it stands up today even after half a century. So they wanted us to do another Supreme song. So back in 2019, I came up with this template for an arrangement. And while Vanilla Fudge was touring that November of that year, we went to the studio and we put it together and we started laying it down, but we didn't finish it. So then 3 months later, the pandemic hit. So everything was at a standstill for, you know, wow, almost 2 years. Everybody was, you know, it was pretty out of it. Nobody could play. Terrible. So we fast forward, the song got done and we managed to get the late Tim Bogert. You know, he passed on and after a long battle with cancer in January, the original bass player and singer Tim Bogert. So he was able to get it together to play bass on this very last track. So Stop in the Name of Love features the original 4 members. And I think it's a pretty hot track, you know. It's a heavy reimagined psychedelic symphonic rock arrangement. We've been playing it on the last 5 gigs. I just got off the road a few days ago, and people are really taken to it. So so check out Stop in the Name of Love by Vanilla Fudge. I think hopefully you'll be pleased with it.
Yeah, and you mentioned the late Tim Bogert, and a little while back, I actually interviewed Carmine a couple of times.
Who's that?
I've interviewed Carmine a couple of times. Yep.
I'm trying to be funny.
And you know, we've talked about Tim, but I mean, Tim's a legendary bass player. You know, what are some of your best memories of playing with Tim?
Well, you know, Tim and I, wow, this is so surreal because we started out as teenagers. You know, we were in bands together. We had a great time growing up as kids, and we always wanted to become pop stars, you know. And we went and listened to every band we could, and we were so influenced by the Rascals and the Beatles and James Brown and all the Stax and the Aretha stuff and all the R&B stuff, you know. And we just had a really cool collaboration together. And you know, it was Tim and I that wanted to do something different. We wanted to reimagine other people's songs and come up with these long symphonic arrangements of, you know, like Eleanor Rigby and Ticket to Ride and You Keep Me Hanging On and Bang Bang and all the hits of the day. And but we needed to find a drummer that was capable of playing that kind of power and dynamics. You know, at the time we had a different drummer. His name was Joey Brennan in a band called the Pigeons. Good drummer, kind of like a straight ahead rock, Charlie Watts, Stones kind of drummer. But we needed somebody who had another voice. And as I just said, so Tim and I went hunting for another drummer. We found Carmine at a place called the Choo Choo Club in Garfield, New Jersey. And this kid was, wow, man, this guy's got great power and he plays with such finesse and he's cool looking. So I went inside the club afterwards and I or backstage rather, and I asked him to come outside. I told him about the direction that we wanted to accomplish, and he was real excited. And he said, "Yeah, man, let's do this." So it wasn't more than a week later. It was Carmine and me and Tim and Vinnie Martell.
Mm-hmm.
We found him, and we started rehearsing in the back of a bar in Bayonne, New Jersey. And before you know it, my dad got us an audition with Philly Basile at the Action House in Long Island, and we went out. He liked the band, and that was the start of that whole new, direction. We started playing together and getting tight and getting better and better, playing a lot around Long Island and Newport, Rhode Island. We developed the following, and we came up with the arrangement for Keep Me Hanging On. It was heard by Shadow Morton. He took us into the studio, the producer at that time, who had Janis Ian and the Shangri-Las. And there's so much history. But you should get my book, anybody, because it's all 50 years of history is in there. It's all examined how everything started and everything evolved. You Keep Me Hanging On, the raging story of rock music's golden age, and you can get it on mark-stein.com, or you can get it numbered and signed copy there, or you can go to Amazon if you want it. But again, it's all in there, man. 350 pages of it.
And aside from Vanilla Fudge, you've played with a lot of other people, and just one of my all-time favorite guitar players was Tommy Bolin, and you spent some time with Tommy, and Tommy had his demons off stage, but on stage, what was it like watching him night after night?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was off the stage at that time. I had moved out to California. And it was probably about a year and a half. I wasn't playing. I was just writing songs. And I started putting a band together, a solo band. And I enlisted this young, funky bass player by the name of Reggie McBride, who was playing with Stevie Wonder at the time. So at rehearsal, he had gotten a call from Tommy Bolin's tour manager to come down and audition with Tommy, because Tommy was leaving Deep Purple, and he was already known from that great album Teaser.
Yeah.
And he was putting a solo band together, and he went down. I said, "Reggie, come on, man. No, I thought we were doing this, So he gave me a call. He says, "Mark, I'm going to do this gig, man, because this is really, I'll tell you what, tell Tommy I want to come down too. Tell him I want to play with him." Because I wanted to get back on tour, So he was a fan of mine and the Fudge too. So it was cool. So I went down to SIR in LA, and we played together, and he enlisted me. And then Narada Michael Walden was fresh out of the Mahavishnu Orchestra, incredible drummer. He was in the band. Norma Jean Bell, great looking performer, sax player, who was out of Frank Zappa's band, great singer. So this was an incredible, a quintet, a merger of R&B and fusion music and soul and blues and everything. And off stage, Tommy was a great guy. We became close. And you're right when you talked about his demons, because they were many, and he just could not remove himself from it. And I tried to get him off all that, but it just didn't work. And the more I tried to, the closer I got to him, the more I tried to get him straight. But the more he, when a person's on all those drugs, they resent the person that's trying to help them. That's just like a standard. And it got to the point where the shows were great. I mean, I remember we opened for Peter Frampton in front of 50,000 people at Mile High Stadium. I think it was 76 when he had Frampton Comes Alive. And that was an amazing show. But as things progressed, his demons progressed. And that very last tour where he lost his life, I had left the band because I was at the point where I was just real uncomfortable. And it was a hard decision, but I felt it was time for me to depart. And sure enough, on that next tour, he had lost his life in Miami when they opened for Jeff Beck, and he OD'd, man, and it was just a terrible moment in rock, because he was only 25 years old.
Yeah.
And I know for the short time he was around, there's not a day that goes by that you look at social media and you don't see some kind of a promo on Tommy Bolin, because his music was so great. And as a guitarist, he was so unique, so tasty, and I just wish he would have been able to survive that, because he would have gone on to done some amazing stuff, and he was a great songwriter. So the world really missed out on a lot of great stuff, you know.
Yeah. And you know, kind of bringing it back to There's a Light, now that things are starting to clear up a little bit, have you thought about being able to take this on the road, or is it just going to be kind of combined with a Vanilla Fudge tour? What do you have planned in terms of hitting the road?
Well, we'll see how it plays out, you know. I mean, I'm doing a show called World Stage.
Yep. I was just going to bring that up. I just interviewed Jim like a week ago when he mentioned you being there.
Oh, great. Jim Peterick.
Yeah.
Oh, so there you go. Yeah, he's so cool. You know, he wrote, co-wrote Eye of the Tiger and that great song by Ides of March, Vehicle, and some other great songs. So I was really happy he invited me to be the featured artist on World Stage. So that's going to be a lot of fun, because Scott May is the keyboard player in the Ides of March, and all those great people. We all, you know, have a lot of love and respect for one another. We're all good friends. So Jennifer Batten from Michael Jackson's
she's amazing
career. She's a killer guitar player, great looking lady. She's going to be playing guitar, and I'm going to be the featured artist. So we're going to do We Are One, and they have the capacity to play it and the vocals to sing all the backing vocals that are necessary to make it happen. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm sure we're going to be doing, keep hanging on and take me for a little while, from Fudge. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So that'll probably be my first show for my solo album, a part of it anyway. But we'll see how it plays out. You know, it's we're in November now, so we'll see if we can fit in between all this COVID stuff, which venues are cool, which aren't cool. You know, it's not quite clear sailing yet, but we're working on it, you know.
Well, we've been spending some time here with Mark Stein. The record is called There's a Light. It is out everywhere November 26th. He mentioned his book. You can get that off of his website as well. Mark, thanks so much for taking the time to do this, and hopefully we can catch you on the road sometime soon.
Well, appreciate you having me, and all the best, and everybody stay healthy, okay?
You got it. Thanks, Mark.
All right, buddy.